Xyla sat rigidly in his office, the news flashing across his screen. His scales flushed a sickly shade of green as he reread the assignment. Trade route: Earth, Sol System, Milky Way Galaxy. Proceed to Terran surface for trade negotiations and resource acquisition. Earth. Xyla whispered to himself, hardly able to believe it. His mandibles clicked nervously as he tried to recall everything he'd ever heard about the planet. Notorious throughout the galaxy, Earth was labeled a death world by his people's galactic travel advisory. Xyla remembered tales of relentless predators, extreme temperatures, and natural forces that defied reason. How could a species even survive there? He clutched his terminal with trembling appendages, his mind racing. "This has to be a mistake," he muttered. His species, the Zartol, were known for their caution and meticulousness, prioritizing safe trade routes. But no one had warned him about this. Xyla's usual routes involved predictable, peaceful worlds with gentle climates and amiable local wildlife. Nothing like Earth. Xyla's gaze flicked to the holographic interface, where an advisory summary began listing Earth's many dangers. He skimmed the top concerns, each one more horrifying than the last. Varied terrains and hostile ecosystems, mountains, deserts, dense jungles, and something called an ocean, each filled with unique threats. Earth was a planet where environments collided violently without the gentler biomes of Zartol colonies. Intelligent apex predators. Humans, a species known for their fierce intelligence, had survived on this safe world for millennia. They hunted, they explored, and, by some accounts, they even swam willingly in oceans infested with deadly creatures. Unpredictable climate. Earth's weather was an uncontrollable force of nature, with storms and hurricanes, capable of leveling entire landscapes in moments. And yet humans lived through it all. Xyla shifted uncomfortably. How could anyone navigate a world so chaotic and dangerous? He checked for recent accounts from any Zartol who might have visited Earth. Finding a scarce few, Xyla selected the report of a seasoned trader who had just completed a similar route. The screen displayed a portrait of a grizzled-looking alien with dulled scales, signs of someone who had clearly seen too much. Xyla tapped into the report, half expecting horror stories about narrow escapes from monstrous beasts and near-death encounters. But to Xyla's surprise, the veteran trader's report was almost admiring. Despite the planet's hazards, the humans were surprisingly welcoming, the report read. Their customs are strange, but they have an unresilience and a fondness for visitors. They were even protective, offering guidance and ensuring I avoided what they called the more dangerous areas. Humans have adapted in ways that make Earth's chaos manageable, even comfortable, for them. Xyla's mind swirled with disbelief. Humans, protective, was that even possible? As he read on, Xyla's fear was slightly tempered by a hint of curiosity. Perhaps he thought the humans weren't reckless survivors but a unique, adaptable species capable of thriving on a death world in ways the galaxy had never seen. And maybe, just maybe, they would keep him safe too. But even as he tried to reason with himself, the lingering dread remained. Xyla knew he had to go. There was no avoiding the assignment. He just hoped he would live to submit his own report. Xyla spent hours poring over every data file he could find on Earth, his apprehension growing with each new entry. The deeper he dove into the information, the more surreal Earth seemed, as though it was some kind of elaborate joke. No planet could be this wild, this chaotic, could it? He started with Earth's climates, trying to familiarize himself with the various zones where he might land. Yet the more he read, the less sense it made. Deserts, and also ice-covered poles, continents separated by vast, treacherous oceans. He shuddered as he viewed images of massive waves towering over shorelines. The idea of willingly traveling across such waters seemed reckless. His own world was arid and stable, with only gentle breezes and temperate climates. But on Earth, temperatures swung wildly depending on location and season. Heat that could boil his scales existed in one part of the world, while in another, cold froze creatures alive. Earth's residents seemed unbothered by these extremes. With a grimace, Xyla moved on to the section about Earth's native wildlife. The variety of species was staggering. On Zartol planets, ecosystems were balanced and relatively tame. Earth, however, was an explosion of life that seemed to defy reason. From fierce land predators like lions and wolves to deep-sea hunters like sharks, Everything seemed built to hunt or defend itself with a ferocity he'd never encountered. The apex predators known as bears filled the screen, enormous and terrifying, standing upright and charging through forests. Zyla quickly skipped to snakes and venomous insects, creatures that had developed ways to deliver toxins powerful enough to paralyze or kill. He shuddered, feeling his scales prickle at the idea of encountering any of these beasts. And then there were the oceans. He swallowed hard as he read about creatures that lurked in the deep, from massive whales to sharp-toothed fish like sharks that patrolled the waters. To his shock, there were reports of humans willingly diving into these seas. Diving. He thought, horrified. Surely not willingly. His screen flashed with a video of humans swimming in clear blue waters, laughing and splashing around as though entirely unafraid of the creatures lurking beneath. Zyla nearly recoiled. To him, it was unfathomable to treat such a place like a playground. Were they that brave or that reckless? Then he stumbled upon a segment labeled Human Recreations. Intrigued yet wary, he opened the files. What he found only made things worse. Humans deliberately participated in activities that seemed utterly hazardous, from climbing sheer mountain faces without safety equipment to jumping out of flying vehicles with only fabric strapped to their backs. And there was a phenomenon called extreme sports, where humans raced down steep mountains of snow or rode mechanical vehicles through dangerous terrains. Some even stood on thin boards and rode waves, those same waves he'd seen towering menacingly over the beaches. The final straw was the concept of pets. Zyla watched, aghast, as humans willingly kept smaller predator animals, like cats and dogs, in their homes. He read that they even allowed these creatures to sleep beside them. He couldn't fathom how a species could be so casual around dangerous animals, let alone willingly invite them into their personal quarters. As Zyla shut the last file, his scales paled with dread. How could he survive an encounter with a species so unpredictable, so at home in a world that seemed determined to kill them at every turn? The thought of Earth was overwhelming, filling him with an intense, unshakable fear. But there was no escaping the assignment. Zyla knew he had to go. He steeled himself, determined to approach with caution, avoiding Earth's most dangerous areas and praying he would avoid falling prey to the strange, fierce world and its equally fierce inhabitants. Zyla sat in his cramped quarters aboard the trade ship, trying to calm his racing heart. As panic threatened to overwhelm him, he decided it was time to seek counsel. He activated a communicator and called the one person he knew who had successfully completed a trade mission on Earth. Tarak, a seasoned trader known for his laid-back demeanor and vast experience. After a brief wait, the screen flickered to life, revealing Tarak lounging in a brightly lit environment filled with exotic trinkets from countless worlds. His mandibles curled into a grin. Zyla, you look like you've seen a ghost. What's eating at you, friend? Zyla wasted no time. Tarak, I've been assigned to Earth. I need advice. I've read about the extreme climates, dangerous wildlife, and humans. They seem wild and unpredictable. How did you survive? Tarak chuckled, the sound rumbling through the communicator. Ah, Earth. A beautiful chaos, I tell you. Sure, it's a death world, but you've got it all wrong about the humans. They're not just resilient. They're adaptable, smart, and incredibly resourceful. Resourceful? Zyla echoed, his brow furrowed. I read that they jump into oceans filled with sharks and climb mountains without equipment. How can you call that resourceful? It sounds reckless. Zyla, my friend, you're misunderstanding their relationship with their world. Humans have an odd way of facing danger head-on. Yes, they take risks, but that's because they've learned to thrive in their environment. They know how to read the land, predict weather changes, and use tools to defend themselves. Zyla leaned forward, intrigued. But what about their wildlife? How can they coexist with creatures that would tear them apart? That's the beauty of it. Tarak exclaimed. Humans have a deep respect for nature. They developed a culture that values understanding and protecting their environment. The trick is to approach them with respect and curiosity. You'll find that they are often more willing to help than you think. Zyla's mandibles clicked nervously. But what if they see me as a threat? What if I'm attacked? Tarak waved a hand dismissively. Trust me, they're more afraid of you than you are of them. Most humans have never encountered an alien, let alone a Zartol. If you approach them with an open mind and friendliness, they'll see you as a visitor, not an intruder. But their hospitality? Zyla asked, still unconvinced. Can they really be trusted? Oh, absolutely. During my time there, I was welcomed into homes, offered food, and treated like family. Their hospitality is genuine, especially towards newcomers. Humans are curious about everything, including you. Just share stories of your own world, and you'll see how quickly they warm up to you. Xyla pondered this, considering the idea of humans inviting him into their lives. What about trade? How do they view commerce? Ah, that's the best part. They love it. Humans are always eager to exchange goods, ideas, and experiences. Just be sure to have something valuable to offer, something unique from Sartol. They appreciate novelty and creativity. Feeling slightly reassured, Xyla took a deep breath. So you really believe I can do this? Without a doubt. Just remember, respect their customs and don't underestimate their resilience. You might even come to enjoy your time there. As the communication ended, Xyla sat back in his chair, absorbing Tarak's words. The prospect of trading on Earth still filled him with dread, but now there was also a flicker of curiosity. Maybe he could turn his fear into something productive, an adventure rather than a calamity. He glanced at the screen, where images of Earth's landscapes and vibrant markets danced before him. With renewed determination, Xyla prepared for his journey, hoping to approach this chaotic world not as a terrified visitor, but as a curious trader eager to learn. The ship touched down on the outskirts of a bustling human city, a place that seemed to throb with life and energy. Xyla's heart raced in his chest as he reviewed the ship's external sensors, taking in the vibrant colors of the landscape and the cacophony of sounds that emanated from the city. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for what lay ahead. As the ramp lowered, a rush of warm air and strange scents washed over him. Xyla stepped onto the pavement, his compound eyes darting around. Humans moved briskly, chatting and laughing, completely unbothered by his alien presence. Despite the chaos, he felt an undeniable thrill at being on this peculiar death world. Before he could take a few hesitant steps, a cheerful voice interrupted his thoughts. "Hey there, you must be Xyla." He turned to see a human bounding toward him, wearing casual clothes adorned with colorful patterns. Her hair was a bright shade of purple, a bizarre yet intriguing sight to Xyla. "I'm Jenna, your guide. Welcome to Earth." Xyla blinked, his mind racing. This is a human. She seems different. "Greetings, Jenna. I'm honored to be here," he replied cautiously, trying to emulate the cordiality he had seen in the reports. "Let's get you acclimated. I know it's a lot to take in," Jenna said, beaming. "Trust me, Earth isn't as scary as it sounds. It's full of wonders." He hesitated but then nodded. "Lead the way." Jenna grinned, and they started walking. Xyla couldn't help but admire the sights around him. Earth was alive in a way he had never experienced. The streets were lined with stalls and shops, overflowing with goods. A dizzying array of colors and sounds enveloped him. The air was filled with the scent of food, spices, sweet confections, and something savory that made his stomach growl, even though he wasn't sure if he should indulge. "This is one of my favorite markets," Jen exclaimed, gesturing enthusiastically. "You can find everything here, from fresh produce to handmade crafts. And don't be surprised if someone invites you to try their food. Humans love sharing meals with visitors." As they entered the market, Xyla's senses were bombarded. Humans bartered loudly, laughter punctuated the air, and the melodies of street musicians played in the background. Colors flashed everywhere, from the vibrant fruits piled high to the intricate textiles hung for display. He felt an unexpected sense of wonder wash over him. "Try these." Jenna handed him a small fruit, round and bright, its skin shimmering under the sun. "This is called a grape. Just pop it in your mouth." Xyla hesitated for a moment before complying, curious about the taste. As he bit into the fruit, the burst of sweetness flooded his senses, and he was momentarily taken aback. "This is delightful," he exclaimed, his eyes widening. Jenna laughed, her smile contagious. "I told you, Earth food is amazing. You'll get used to it in no time." They continued walking, Xyla's initial apprehensions slowly melting away. He watched as Jenna engaged with the vendors, her laughter and easygoing nature putting him at ease. She introduced him to a variety of goods, fabrics from distant regions, spices that danced on the tongue, and peculiar gadgets that sparked his curiosity. "Humans are incredibly creative," Jenna explained, pointing to a stall filled with hand-carved wooden figures. "We love crafting and making things unique. It's a way to express ourselves." Xyla found himself enthralled. The warmth of Jenna's enthusiasm and the vibrant life surrounding him slowly chipped away at his fear. Perhaps Earth wasn't the savage, chaotic death world he had envisioned. Instead, it was a realm of vibrant life, creativity, and resilience. As they wandered deeper into the market, Zyla felt a newfound sense of adventure bubbling within him. The fear that had gripped him for so long began to fade, replaced by an eagerness to explore, learn, and connect. For the first time since receiving his assignment, he felt he could embrace this extraordinary journey ahead. As Zyla and Jenna navigated through the bustling market, a sudden commotion caught his attention. A group of humans had gathered around a large fountain, where several children were playing. The children laughed and splashed each other, seemingly unaware of the occasional glares from adults who kept a watchful eye on the water. Curiosity piqued, Zyla approached the crowd, Jenna following closely. "What's going on here?" he asked, his voice barely audible over the cheerful chaos. "Just some kids enjoying a warm day," Jenna replied, her eyes twinkling. "They're fearless when it comes to nature. This fountain is a favorite spot in the summer." Zyla watched, captivated. The children climbed onto the edge of the fountain, their joy radiating in the sunlight. Occasionally, one would slip, causing gasps from the adults, but instead of crying, the child would erupt into laughter, shaking off the moment and rejoining the fun. This resilience struck a chord with Zyla. "Is it always like this?" he asked, his eyes wide. "They don't seem afraid of falling." "Not at all," Jenna said with a shrug. "Children, especially, have a natural instinct to explore. They learn quickly how to adapt to their surroundings. It's part of what makes them human." Zyla couldn't help but admire this quality. Back on Zartol, caution was ingrained in their culture. Survival often depended on avoiding danger at all costs. Seeing these humans so unafraid sparked a sense of wonder within him. How can they be so resilient in the face of potential harm? As they moved away from the fountain, they passed a park where humans engaged in various activities. Some were jogging along the paths, while others practiced yoga on grassy patches, and still more were picnicking under the shade of large trees. Zyla observed them closely, noticing how they interacted with their environment. A woman jogged past, deftly avoiding tree roots and uneven terrain, her determination palpable. A group of friends gathered around a picnic blanket, sharing food and laughter under a tree. "This park is a perfect example of how humans embrace nature," Jenna explained. "We don't shy away from it, we celebrate it. Whether it's a quiet day in the sun or an adrenaline rush climbing mountains, we find ways to connect." "But what about the risks?" Zyla asked, confusion evident in his voice. "What if something dangerous happens?" Jenna chuckled. "Sure, there are risks, but we learn to handle them. Humans are adaptable. If someone falls off a bike, they get back on. If they encounter a wild animal, they learn how to respect its space. It's all about finding balance." Zyla nodded slowly, processing her words. Balance. It was a concept he hadn't considered. In his culture, the idea was to eliminate risk entirely, to be cautious at all times. But here on Earth, the humans seemed to thrive in uncertainty. He noticed a group practicing martial arts nearby, their movements fluid and confident. They trained with focus, embracing the challenges of the sport and pushing each other to improve. "That looks intense," he remarked, feeling a mix of admiration and apprehension. "Their training," Jenna explained, her gaze warm. "Learning how to defend themselves while also respecting their opponents. There's a lot of camaraderie in sports like that." Zyla took it all in, the children laughing, the joggers pushing their limits, the martial artists honing their skills. He began to see the beauty in their resilience, how they faced life's uncertainties with open hearts and minds. As they walked through the park, Zyla found himself smiling, inspired by the spirit of these earthlings. This world was filled with challenges, yes, but it was also brimming with opportunity for growth and connection. Perhaps there was much to learn from humans, not just about trade, but about living in harmony with both nature and oneself. Feeling a surge of enthusiasm, Zyla turned to Jenna. "What's next on our adventure? I want to see more." Her eyes lit up with excitement. "How about we check out a nearby nature reserve? It'll show you another side of Earth's beauty." Zyla grinned, a sense of eagerness swelling within him. "Lead the way, I'm ready." As the sun began to set, casting a warm golden glow across the landscape, Zyla and Jenna made their way back to the docking area where his ship awaited. The nature reserve had exceeded all his expectations. Surrounded by towering trees and vibrant wildlife, Zyla had felt a deep sense of peace he never thought possible on a death world. He had observed humans interacting with the environment in ways that blended respect and excitement, their laughter echoing among the trees as they explored the trails. "Wasn't that incredible?" Jenna asked, a spark of joy in her voice as they approached the ship. "I love seeing the wildlife up close. It reminds me of how connected we are to nature." Zyla nodded, his heart swelling with gratitude for the experiences he had gained during his time on Earth. "It was enlightening," he replied, reflecting on the fear that had initially gripped him. He could hardly believe that the trader who had trembled at the thought of visiting this planet was the same being now filled with excitement and wonder. He stepped onto his ship, pausing for a moment to take in the familiar controls, but this time they felt different, less intimidating and more like a gateway to the universe. As he prepared for takeoff, his mind drifted back to the vibrant markets, the fearless children, and the resilient humans he had encountered. There is so much to learn from them, he thought, the spark of curiosity igniting a new flame within him. "Are you ready for departure?" Jenna's voice broke his reverie. Zyla turned to her, his expression reflecting newfound determination. "I am, but I must thank you for being my guide. Your perspective on Earth and its inhabitants has changed everything for me." Jenna smiled, her eyes shining. "I'm glad I could help. Just remember, humans may seem quirky, but we're resilient and adaptable. You'll find that trait in many beings across the universe." With a final glance at the bustling city beneath him, Zyla activated the ship's systems. The engines hummed to life, and he felt the familiar thrill of anticipation course through him. As the ship lifted off the ground, he watched Earth recede, the blue and green sphere transforming into a beautiful marble suspended in the dark void of space. Instead of the fear he had anticipated, he felt a rush of exhilaration. "I want to bring something from this experience back to Sartol," he thought. He recalled the way humans embraced their challenges, how they thrived in chaos, and how their laughter could light up even the darkest moments. He longed to share these stories with his fellow traders, to show them that perhaps a little risk could lead to incredible rewards. As the stars began to twinkle around him, Zyla charted his course for his next destination. Instead of viewing it with trepidation, he looked forward to the challenges that lay ahead. He was eager to engage with other species and discover their unique ways of life, just as he had done with humans. If they can thrive on a death world, what could I learn from other cultures? Next stop, the Zulkan cluster, he murmured to himself, a grin spreading across his face. He felt a sense of hope bubbling within him, ready to embrace the unknown. Just before entering hyperspace, Zyla glanced back at the glowing orb of Earth one last time. "Thank you, humanity," he whispered, gratitude flooding his heart. "I will return. There's so much more I need to learn." With a resolute heart and an open mind, Zyla activated the hyperdrive. As the stars stretched into lines of light and his ship surged forward, he realized he was no longer just a trader. He was an explorer, a seeker of knowledge. The fear that once held him captive had transformed into an insatiable curiosity. The universe awaited him, and for the first time he was ready to embrace it wholeheartedly.